So I mentioned Excel. Excel is being used practically everywhere that we go when we ask the scheduler, how do you schedule today? And I bet you 95% of them go, well, we have an ERP system, but it doesn't have all the information we need, so we dump it to Excel. Then I spend 4 hours in Excel trying to figure out the schedule for tomorrow. So that is obviously really inefficient. There's usually lots of information that they know in their head that is not built into the ERP or is not built into their Excel spreadsheet very much. They are manually using the rules that they have in their brain to create the schedule. And the challenge of that is, first of all, there's no real-time tracking in that. You're just saying, okay, I think this is our schedule. We'll give that to the guys on the floor and we'll see what happens. If you've spent your 4 hours creating your schedule, usually as soon as you put that schedule out, some customer will call up, you'll have a machine breakdown, something will happen, and you have to go through that entire process again. A lot of the customers I see, they just don't go through that process again until the next day. So they sort of have to wait and see what falls out of the mix. So ERP comes along. As mentioned, some people try to use ERP systems to schedule. If you have an extremely simple scheduling issue, if you have an extremely simple production process, you can sometimes get away with ERP scheduling. The problem always arises when you start talking to industries like foods, chemicals, pharmaceuticals. You can't just schedule them first in, first out. There's things that in foods, for example, you have allergen problems. You can't run stuff with nuts and then change over to something else that doesn't have nuts and then change over to something else that has another allergen, because that incurs massive changeover times. It's extremely efficient. So what we need to do in those cases is know what the allergen is and group them together so that they can run together. Most ERPs don't have that concept of an attribute as an allergen. Many things happen with those kind of situations where you're trying to group products together. That's why almost everybody I run into that has an ERP system is dumping to Excel and letting somebody with their 20 years of experience generate the schedule, which obviously has some issues when that person retires. If you haven't planned for that, you're going to run into some serious problems. So what is the advanced planning and scheduling system that we have? Most of those ERP systems that I just mentioned are infinite capacity scheduling, which typically means your MRP runs, you have a bunch of orders that have to be done this week, and the ERP says, okay, here you go. I scheduled them by due date. You go ahead and execute. Well, that's where you get into, well, the system doesn't really know that there's a finite amount of work we can do. We have a certain amount of people. They have a certain amount of machines. There's secondary constraints like I need tools at some operation. I need raw materials to come in at the right time. So that's why we need something that's more finite, more constrained, so that you can actually make sure that systems are running, that you can actually execute those systems. Their scheduling systems range from basic resource run rates, that's the typical baseline ERP, to multi-constraint scheduling that looks at all kinds of things like what is actually real world, what's actually happening on your production floor. Actually, what machines do you have? Are they all running? Are they all running at the rate that you said they're running? Do you have the people to run it? Do you have the tooling that they need? Is it all available? Is the raw material on time so you can actually start that job? All of those rules are what I mentioned a slide or two ago. They're often in the scheduler's head. You know, when you talk to these people, they know how their product run through the system, so they don't trust the ERP. They trust their Excel schedule.